In this video, I'll show you how our client Debbie was able to reverse her type 2 diabetes, lose 15 pounds, get rid of her metformin, and stop her cravings for good. Our client came to us with type 2 diabetes, and she was wanting more stable blood sugar, wanting weight loss, wanting to regain her energy, and getting restful sleep. The problem was she was feeling fatigued, particularly when she was doing any physical activity, whether that be walking or more intense exercise like pickleball, for example. She was feeling weak and shaky and very hangry in between meals if she went too long. She was having unstable energy all throughout the day, even without exercise. She was getting more cravings for dessert and was especially finding it difficult to manage her emotional eating, particularly in those days that were stressful and busy. She was needing to wake up at least once during the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and then in turn found it difficult to fall back asleep after she was awake. And it wasn't for a lack of effort. She had tried gluten-free, she had ventured into low carb, she had tried metformin, glipizide, Ozempic, vitamin D3, berberine, cortisol manager, and got advice to go low carb, but either those didn't work or she was finding all the recommendations to be very unsustainable, where she would try something for a period of time and then she wouldn't be able to keep up with it, or cravings and emotional eating would kick in where it would feel impossible to maintain that. And it got to a point where she was just done settling. She was done settling for something that was going to be unsustainable. She was done settling for something that didn't stick and didn't work for her body for the long term and really help her to build the skills that she needed to stabilize her blood sugar, to lose weight, to regain her energy for good. And she felt like this was her year. This was her year to not settle, to start investing into herself to be able to do that. And that's when we started working together. I am Isaac Pullman. I'm a registered dietitian and a fellow person with type 1 diabetes. And I am the CEO of the Pullman Institute, where me and my team have helped over 500 plus clients around the world balance and stabilize their blood sugar without cutting out carbs, without relying on medications. And if you'd like to do that too, all you have to do is comment or message me the word interest, depending on which platform you're on, and we'll show you how. So Debbie worked with our practitioner, Angela, who is the queen of helping clients reverse their diabetes. And these are the areas that we found made the biggest difference for Debbie. Number one, we found that she was under eating, where she wouldn't eat much during the day, and that was a byproduct of two things: her busyness with her job, but also her lack of appetite. And so the combination of these two led to not eating very much and then overeating at night. A lot of times when we look at clients that have cravings for desserts or have emotional eating, many times we pinpoint the problem to that particular time frame. Like, it's in the evening, that's when it's happening, and that's the problem, right? But really, we wanted to see the full context, because typically when we work with clients, it's actually not that time period. It's actually much further up in the day. And so what we found is she was under eating during the day and overeating at night. But the real problem was she wasn't fueling her body in a way that she really needed to. And this is very commonplace, especially when clients want to lose weight, right? You're told to eat less. You want to lower your blood sugar? Well, if you eat less or you eat less carbs, you don't spike your blood sugar as much. You don't depend on as much medication, right? And so I think a little bit of that got into her head just based on her dieting history as well. And so what we really started to prioritize are things within our lifestyle that help to increase her appetite in a healthy way, and then gradually include more dense choices early on in the day. So she was stabilizing and balancing her blood sugar, providing the energy that her body needed to actually exercise, to actually do the work that she was doing, right? And that helped her to go one longer in between meals while staying satisfied, while feeling energized. That hangry, that shaky type of feeling when she was, going along without eating, that didn't happen anymore. And then as a result of fueling her body during the day, she had less cravings at night. She had less emotional eating episodes as well, right? And this really helped her morning blood sugar as well, because in this eating pattern of under eating during the day and overeating at night was really starting to disrupt her circadian rhythm. And what is your circadian rhythm? Well, it refers to a group of hormones that your body releases in response to light and darkness outside, right? And this helps us to stay energized during the day and feel tired and sleep well. But when this is disrupted, oftentimes due to poor light environment, or in Debbie's case as well, eating during a time where our body's starting to settle down, what that does is it increases our body temperature and makes it more difficult to produce the very hormones that we need to get good quality sleep. And as a result of that, then we can be waking up in the middle of the night having to use the bathroom, having trouble falling back asleep, having higher blood sugar in the morning, right? And then having poor appetite to start the day, and then the cycle continues, right? So we get stuck in this cycle. And so by fueling her body in a way that really worked for her, she got her appetite back. She feels more energized and satisfied after eating. She's not getting that hangry, shaky type of feeling when she goes longer without eating. She's sleeping through the night. She doesn't have the same cravings or emotional eating. And she's starting the morning with a normal blood sugar, which when you start the morning with a normal blood sugar, automatically it makes it so much easier to regulate it throughout the rest of the day because you're not chasing it back down. Number 2, we worked on her stress response. And Debbie was one of those individuals that worked on this pretty well before coming to us. She had noticed that that was a big thing coming up for her and started reducing her stress, started working on things with her social life, with her work, with her volunteering, just to bring more fulfillment back to her life. And that really helped her. And I think that that's great. And that's what many of our clients have done too. They worked on stress to some degree. The thing is, it's not just about reducing stress. It's about how can we make our body resilient to that, right? Because when you have high blood sugar, automatically what that says about your body underneath that is it's overproducing stress hormones, right? And those stress hormones raise blood sugar. So it's less about how can we cut down on stress. That's great. That's a great start. But how can we help our body be resilient to that so when we do have busy days, when we do have stressful days, not only does it help us to regulate that blood sugar, but it makes those emotional eating episodes significantly less. And this really helped her to improve both her morning and her post-meal blood sugar. And many times we get in the conversation with clients and followers where they'll say, hey, I haven't eaten anything in 7 and 8 and 9 hours, yet right in the morning my blood sugar just spikes up. Well, it's a byproduct of partially this. When our body is kicking out more stress hormones or our circadian rhythm is disrupted, kind of like I talked about before, our liver dumps extra carbs into our bloodstream, therefore raising our blood sugar, even if we haven't eaten anything. And so this really helped to lower that. And again, when you do that, it makes it so much easier to regulate your blood sugar for the rest of the day because you're not chasing it back down. When it's high in the morning, it's like you're spending maybe 4, 5, 6 hours trying to get that back down, especially when you're in an insulin resistant state like Debbie was at first. Speaking of insulin resistance, one of the biggest causes of insulin resistance is something known as high leptin. What is leptin? Leptin is a hormone that your body produces in response to how much fuel you have on board, right? How much energy you have stored away so that it can survive. Similar to like a gas gauge in your car, right? Where it says full, half tank, empty. Your body has leptin to communicate that signal of how much energy it has. And this is really important for supporting lower blood sugar and getting rid of medications, for losing weight, for supporting your thyroid health. She had hypothyroidism, having better energy, and having a healthier appetite, meaning feeling hungry at the times that you need to be, like before meals, and having that meal satiate you and stabilize you for long after. Leptin is key to doing that. The problem is when we have a disrupted circadian rhythm, kind of like I talked about in the first point, what ends up happening is our brain doesn't receive that leptin signal. It's similar to having a broken gas gauge on your car. You don't know if it's full, you don't know if it's empty, you don't know if it's halfway. You're like playing this guessing game. And it's the same thing our body is when we can't receive this leptin signal. Why can't we receive this leptin signal? Well, our circadian rhythm is disrupted. When our body is producing other hormones like melatonin, for example, you might have heard of that being a supportive sleep hormone. When our body is producing that, we can receive that leptin signal. When it's not, we don't receive that leptin signal as strongly. And then we get more symptoms in those areas. We get higher blood sugar. We get weight loss resistance. We get poor energy. We get reliance on medication. We get insulin resistance, right? We get all these things. But when we can receive that signal, well, leptin is actually able to do its job. We found Debbie had a high leptin level, and so we really helped her to prioritize her circadian rhythm, finding creative ways to do that all throughout the day, but into the evening as well. And these were very simple things, but fundamental to helping her getting out of her weight loss rut. And she was able to lose 15 pounds without fixating on macros or calories or anything like that, but just came along for the ride with everything else that she did. In addition to the high leptin that was off, we also tested her minerals. And this was really crucial because she also had a goal of ideally getting off some of her medications as well. And what we found within her minerals is she had high iron. And iron, if you're not familiar, it's a great mineral. It's something that we need, but when it's high, it leads to more insulin resistance, right? It gets lodged in different organs within our body, whether that be the pancreas, whether that be the liver, and those are two primary sites that help us to regulate our blood sugar. When it's in the pancreas, our body doesn't put out as much insulin, right? When it's in the liver, our liver puts out more glucose into our bloodstream, therefore raising blood sugar. And so when we have those at play, we're not able to regulate our blood sugar as well, and then we have higher inflammation, which makes, of course, weight loss and energy difficult to come by. And so what we found for Debi is she had low vitamin D and low copper. Low vitamin D isn't necessarily the signal to take a supplement, because that's not necessarily the problem, and many times taking it can have consequences in itself, but rather our body is not quite able to hold on to that vitamin D due to the inflammation. With low copper, think about copper as almost being the parent to iron. Iron is a very supportive mineral, but it can cause havoc if it goes off by itself, versus copper can kind of help to manage it, making sure it gets to the right spots instead of causing the inflammation and insulin resistance that it so often does in the clients that we work with. In addition to the leptin leading to the insulin resistance, when our minerals and vitamins are off or out of balance, we tend to have higher insulin levels as well. So both feed into that. And overall, the more stress, the more inflammation, the more insulin resistance, the more blood sugar fluctuations that we have, the lower our magnesium levels go because we're burning through so much of it. And again, it's not necessarily a sign that we need to supplement. Oftentimes what's at the core is how can we help our body hold on to more of that magnesium, and then if we need to top it off with some magnesium rich foods and some supplementation, we can do that. And so by focusing on balancing those vitamins and minerals, Debi was able to remove her metformin and still have healthy blood sugars, both in the morning but also post-meal. The last piece that we focused in on for Debi was movement. And this wasn't anything new to her because she was already doing a level of walks and pickleball. What she did do is she amped those up because she had more energy. And that's the thing for a lot of our clients. They don't necessarily have the energy to increase their exercise right at the beginning. And they might have to start off with something a little bit slower. But gradually over time, as their energy comes back, as their resiliency comes back, they can tolerate exercise and they actually enjoy it because they have the energy to do so. And then it also works in their favor where now it's contributing to the weight loss. Now it's helping to lower their insulin resistance even further. And so that was really, really helpful for Debi. The one cool thing about her too, as we work with her, is at first she was not even open to weightlifting. Like that was out of the question for her. And it almost came as a result of her having more energy, her having more resilience, feeling better. Now she's open to weightlifting, which is going to produce even more weight loss results for her. So I'm excited to see what she'll continue to do. And as a result of focusing on these areas, she was able to normalize her fasting readings into the 80s and 90s, normalize her post-meal blood sugar, while eating carbs and while cutting back on her metformin medication, right? She got rid of it. She doesn't need it. She lost 15 plus pounds naturally, and that was after seeing no progress on Ozempic. She stopped her sugar cravings. She's sleeping through the night without waking up. She feels more stable and satisfied and energized long after she eats instead of having to constantly snack throughout the day. And last but not least, she found a plan that not only works for her, but is sustainable in the end. And that was the biggest challenge that she was struggling with. And so if you are ready to reverse your high blood sugar like Debi did, without cutting out carbs, without relying on medications to do that, just comment or message me the word interest and we will show you how.